Lorena, I'm always so excited when I get emails from people who are experts in their fields, especially when it relates to intimacy and love and commitment and everything that is in this beautiful topic of attachment theory. So, thank you so
Mhm.
much for reaching out to me. I'm very happy to have you here today. I would love it if you could introduce yourself to my listeners so that they have a better understanding of what this expertise is.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for having me, Maggie. I appreciate it. I'm a somatic intimacy coach and trauma resolution practitioner. I studied something called somatic experiencing trauma resolution work, and various iterations of that work looked at the intersection of attachment theory and developmental trauma. And yeah, so felt like a good match to show up here with you on this show.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, and I love supporting empaths who struggle with honoring their desires and boundaries. So there's a tendency for us to abandon ourselves when we get into relationship and lose track of what we authentically need and want and kind of merge with another. And then, yeah, that can make authentic intimacy hard.
Yes. Oh my goodness, do I know
Mhm.
about that? I
I
mean,
imagine.
it's not like I mean, he gave me somewhat of a career, which I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily mad about. But that being
Hmm.
said, I think it is valuable to dive into because the more we get to know ourselves better, I think we have more agency, and from that place, we can make decisions that are more helpful. Although we have all of these patterns that we follow, and it's hard to
Yeah.
break. So I do wonder though, do you have a personal story of your own of why you got into this type of work?
For sure, like any classic wounded healer, I had my own childhood traumas that I contended with.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I feel like the height of my dysfunction around codependence happened around 2009, 2010. I was in a relationship where I was doing way more caretaking than was really serving me or that my partner at the time, and we were getting into a lot of fights, and there was a certain degree of yeah, just self-abandonment that was happening in that relationship. I wasn't really fulfilled. I had isolated myself from other connections, and I enrolled at that time in something called somatic experiencing, which I just referenced, and that was a game changer. I learned how to get more into my body, track with mindfulness, my emotions, my sensations, got to learn about the nervous system more so, and came into a healthier relationship with my anger, which was pivotal in learning how to honor my boundaries more effectively. And so got out of that relationship, and loving and living has been far more satisfying since then.
Yeah. I mean, it's something about it because when you're in the midst of it, you really do not believe that there's any way out, nor that it gets better. At least I had this conviction that like it wasn't anything better, like this is as good as it gets. And when I was so miserable at the end of as good as it gets, I was just like, I might as well just end it. Like that's how freaking entrapping that feeling can get. And did you do any further investigation as to like where your tendencies came from and why you kind of allowed for this in the first place in terms of like upbringing?
For sure. I mean, and it's iterative, right? I learn something, I get into a different relationship pattern. It's better than it was before, and then I hit a new pattern or a new
Yeah.
depth of it, right? So I'm like 51. I'm still learning stuff about my trauma and my history, but there's an intellectual understanding of what happened to me. There's like a theoretical understanding of what happened, but there's the moving into an embodied present moment experience that's a break from the past that's more fulfilling, and that is yeah, that's a journey. that
Yeah.
I need to choose day in, day
Yes.
out, right?
Well, let me get back to basics a little bit, just because
Sure.
I just want to make sure that I personally understand, and also like whoever who is listening.
Mhm.
Can you explain what somatic intimacy even is?
Yeah, so somatics refers to basically the mind-body connection. I
Mhm.
would say much of Western civilization is founded on this like mind over matter, I think, therefore I am,
Mhm.
this kind of like dualistic notion of consciousness and the body.
Mhm.
That has had limited applications, right? Versus a somatic awareness is recognition that our embodied experience influences our minds, our emotions, our mental patterns, and vice versa. Like
Yeah.
how we direct our attention towards our sensations, our emotions, our body impulses helps us develop more consciousness, more choicefulness, more
Yeah.
agency
Yeah.
around how we're experiencing life. And so much of our trauma patterns get encoded into our bodies.
Yeah.
So much of our core conditioning gets encoded into our bodies.
Right.
Um, and speaking of attachment, in the first 18 months of our lives, the only types of memories that get encoded are not explicit memories versus implicit memories. And that those types of memories show up in the form of sensations, emotions, body impulses, core beliefs, perceptions, anticipations about life. And so, and that feels like it's happening in the here and now
Okay.
versus it feels versus like, oh, that happened to me in the past. When there's that felt sense of that happened to me in the past, then there's more of kind of a spaciousness between that memory and our current moment experience versus like implicit memories feels like it's happening here and now.
Right.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It does make sense. I'm trying to figure out to what extent it's subconscious.
Very similar idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
got you. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I can definitely recognize what it is that you're saying. And in the sense that as you're explaining the concept, I'm trying to think of like ways in which I've like applied it in my own life, and how it works. Are you essentially saying also that like whatever I tell myself, whatever is true in my mind, whatever I convince myself of as truth is what I will experience as truth, meaning that I can essentially script my life the way I want it to, and therefore I will accomplish what it is that I want, meaning that what I'm thinking is what I'm feeling, mind, body.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
There's a lot of kind of mindset coaching where we're trying to change our beliefs,
Mhm.
right? And if I just believe this positive thing, then my whole body or life will organize around that positive thing,
Right.
which can happen to a certain extent, but that can get overused.
Okay.
And so for those of us who are trying to like, okay, I'm gonna believe this positive thing, but then like the heart is clenching
Right.
or
It's not
the
authentic.
belly is
Yeah.
right. Like there's a disconnect between
Right.
what I'm telling myself I should believe and what my how my body is responding in the present moment. And so there's a quality of mindfulness when we bring mindfulness, which is more of an experience of acceptance, curiosity, wonder, and just being with versus trying to change something, trying to deny something, trying to control something. And that something could be an emotion, a behavior. When we're just mindfully accepting and creating space for ourselves just as we are and all
Right.
the emotions and sensations that accompany it, then that is more transformative than trying to tell and force our bodies, our hearts,
Right.
our beings to
So
show up,
what can
perform
that
in a
look
different
like?
way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm
Mhm.
curious like what that would look like. And I mean also like I'm so intrigued by the part you're also referring to when it comes to like the first 18 months of our lives, like how
Mm-hmm.
incredibly impactful those are. So,
Yeah.
like, in order to create a secure brain, if you will, or a secure mind,
Mm-hmm.
what would those 18 months ideally look like for the most
Right.
precious, healthy, happy child?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Dan Siegel. He's an attachment researcher, mindfulness
Yeah.
teacher, or like has done mindfulness work and incorporates it into our understanding of the nervous system. And he defines a healthy system as a system that's got a nice balance between connection and differentiation. So if we apply that to the parent-child relationship in the first 18 months of our lives,
Mhm.
like a good connection is a parent that's paying attention to the child's emotions, paying attention to the child's needs, is available for them and responsive to them. Versus if there's too much differentiation, then there's kind of like and it could be a certain amount of neglect around and lack of attention
Right.
around all those subtle or not so subtle signals a child is giving,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's a responsiveness, there's a care, there's a presence, there's an ability to accept the child and their emotions, but also not get fused with them. So if we're over connected and fused with a child or our own emotions, then we can get like I'm too merged with a child or a beloved, then it would be harder to self-regulate and
Right.
hold a certain quality of grounded presence for that child, right? Like the child gets distressed, and I'm suddenly distressed and overwhelmed and dysregulated. If the child's like angry, if I'm too fused, then I'm just kind of like maybe following their desires and needs and not setting any healthy boundaries, right?
Yeah. Can I use an example from my own life?
Please do.
So my my mom is essentially the one that I feel closest to in the whole world. And the reason why is that
Mm,
she's always been there. Whatever,
mm,
whatever, wherever, whenever, my mom has always been there for me. And that's true for my brothers too. She's very present, she's very caring and loving, and we've had an
mm-hmm,
incredible upbringing. My dad has also
mm-hmm,
always been present, but he wasn't emotionally available, which was really,
right.
my mom somehow overcompensated, if you will, because I
Mm-hmm,
cannot for the life of me say that I lack love in my life. But that
right.
father-daughter relationship has turned out to be so much more significant to me than I was
Mm-hmm.
aware of growing up, but it I
Mm-hmm.
became so aware of it in relationship with men. And that is
Mm-hmm.
besides the fact that I have two older brothers too. So there was a lot of opportunity for a lot of confidence, but I didn't have it for so
Mm.
many years. And I really struggled in relationships. I struggled with having integrity, being honest with myself about what I wanted, and letting go
Right.
when I should have.
Right.
So, what do you know to explain that disconnect that happened?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, when we start talking about attachment styles, there's this idea of like, I'm one attachment style,
Mhm.
right? Like I'm preoccupied or I'm avoidant, I'm secure. Versus what's actually true is that our attachment styles develop in relationship to another. So it's possible to have like a securely attached relationship with a mom and an insecurely attached relationship with a father,
Right.
right? And then so my understanding is that you're attracted to men. And
Yes.
then so that relationship style that got like coupled or like connected with a male-bodied human being is going to bring up that core programming around your relationship with male-bodied partner.
It's like my mind is kind of blown, which is strange because it's like I've been quote unquote teaching or understanding, diving deep
Mm.
discovering so much about attachment theory, but I never actually thought about it like that. Although I'm sure I've said it or even heard someone say it, but it's as if right now I actually understood what you now it was like now I get it. It's
Mm-hmm.
because with in the relationship that I'm in now with my incredible loving caring
Mm.
gives me everything I need and want and more.
Amazing.
It's a completely different experience, right? But it came with a decent amount of awareness and self-discovery and just
Mm-hmm.
accountability. It came with so much
Mm.
accountability. I had to just like I had to investigate further. I didn't want to be in that situation anymore where I felt so
Mm-hmm.
codependent to someone that didn't even want
Mm-hmm.
me. You
Right.
know? And to
Right.
struggle so much to let go. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's true. Like even with my brothers, I have a very secure relationship with my brothers. I've always had that. I have a re secure relationship with my mom, of course, but with my dad, it has been consistently incredibly insecure. And of
Mm.
course, that is the programming that I possessed, you know, when it came to relationship to like the husband figure, I suppose. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, I mean, when you put it like that, it makes sense that I would kind of attract the same sort of well, what do you want to call it? The same level of, I guess, frequencies, the way that I like to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's such an interesting topic. I love this topic. And you were also speaking about it in the email that you sent me too, is that people abandon themselves in relationships. And I surely
Mm-hmm.
have, and you can speak to it too. And I wonder
Mm-hmm.
if you have more stories as to like if someone is out there and they wonder if it might be true for them, like how does it feel in your body when you're abandoning yourself? And like what can you do to just get the process started of just getting one step closer to acceptance and closer to the goal that we actually want to accomplish in love.
Yeah, self-abandonment in relationships and what's that like in our bodies? That's a great question. And as you were talking earlier, I kind of want to connect some dots.
Oh,
So,
go ahead.
you were talking about earlier of like there was a way that your relationship with your father brought up a lot of insecurity and feeling of maybe not enough. Like, I
Yeah,
can't get enough attention, I can't get enough love, I can't get enough security, I can't get enough affirmation or something like that.
affection. It just wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never heard he would whisper it under his breath, kind of.
I'm reminded of when I had a big aha moment in my trauma training. My professor or my teacher trainer was talking about this one particular study on what was it called? Intermittent positive reinforcement.
Yeah. Intermittent positive reinforcements.
It's the same sort of thing that happens with gambling, right? You pull a lever, you have no idea what's gonna come out and when's it gonna come out, but it like that, like,
Oh
but
my
you know
God.
it's gonna come out at some point.
Yeah.
And then so there's this kind of like addictive behavior that can show up.
Yeah.
And he was describing this one particular study with these pigeons where they would have a pellet of food that would come out intermittently and randomly in response to the pigeon touching the little levers. Like touch
Right.
it once, twice, three times, four times, a pellet would come out. Oh, yay, food. But then hit it six more times and then it would come out, or one more time and then it would come out. But it got to the point where the pigeon was so obsessed with the lever that it would just keep on hitting it. And even when the food came out, it would ignore the food and continue to hit the lever. And then at some point, they put an electrical charge on the floor next to the lever, and the pigeon would hang out in pain, pushing this lever trying to get food and then ignoring the food when it would come out. And when I heard that story, I'm like, I've got a freaking pigeon brain when it comes to love. I'm like ignoring my body's signals, saying it's like, oh, this is painful and this is hurting. I'm ignoring the nourishment that is becoming available
Oh my
And
God.
I'm obsessively reaching for these like sad little pellets of love.
Why do
Right?
we do that to ourselves? Oh my gosh.
Um,
Are you familiar with Alison Armstrong's work?
Sounds vaguely familiar, but no,
Yeah,
not
so
very clear.
she's talking about this concept of women in this like in this kind of same universe, if you will, but it's like if you think like hunter-gatherers, like women
Mm,
would want to
hmm.
be saved from the tiger, essentially.
Okay.
So when we want to ensure that we are safe, because generally
Hmm.
speaking, that's what women crave, safety more than anything, right?
Hmm.
So when we crave safety, we also need to create an environment where we feel safe. So we think that by being pleasing and giving and giving and giving, even if we're not getting in return, then we have to do it because otherwise they're not going to save us from the freaking tiger. Like we need to be saved from the tiger. And
Yeah.
I think it's a funny image because it's like, as much as it sounds ridiculous, I thought it was super funny and I could somehow relate to it and feel like somehow seen in it and validated that like I do want to be saved from the tiger. So when he's talking to that bitch over there, I wonder if he's gonna save her from the tiger. It's like
Interesting. Yeah,
it's
there's some sort of primal fear that
yeah,
emerges,
yeah,
and these like caretaking behaviors or these self-abandoned behaviors or these people-pleasing behaviors
yeah.
on a certain way is kind of like hitting that lever
Yes,
because we
exactly.
know if we like do fill in the blank,
Mhm.
smile, laugh,
It doesn't matter how much we're
give,
hoarding.
we're gonna like
Yeah,
hopefully get something, but we're at the same time ignoring opportunities for
yeah,
nourishment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is strange because like even like when you think about it like that, it almost seems as though how come this person then doesn't become the tiger, like the danger, when we are actually not safe with them in reality?
Right. I mean, attachment relating is interesting. Disruptions in attachment relationships are interesting because as young ones, our very survival is dependent on another person paying attention to us and responding to our needs.
Yeah.
Now, if that person is not doing a fabulous job of it and consistently giving us pellets of love every time we hit that button, and by the way, when the button was like consistently giving the pellets,
Yeah.
then the pigeon would just relax and would go like, okay, when I'm hungry, I'll hit the pellet and then I'll get some food and then I could go off and do other things. And then when I'm hungry again, I could go off and then come back. And then so versus kind of being obsessed with it, we
Yeah.
can have our own lives where we're not obsessing about whether or not the love is gonna like come out.
It's so true. This is such a good analogy. I love this, and I'm gonna keep telling this story for sure. This is not the last time you've heard this story on my podcast, but I mean, because now in the relationship that I am, we're in a long distance relationship, and we've been doing it for close
Hmm.
to a year, and I've never felt more secure in my relationship. Not because it
Beautiful.
like long distance is so great. Of course, there's like longing to some extent, but we are having our own individual lives and we are
Hmm.
tending to our own individual careers. But when we
Hmm.
see each other and we meet each other, it's, yeah, we're fully immersed in the love of it all and connecting and nurturing the relationships we have together, but also together with our friends. And yeah, just
Right.
making sure that we are tending to everything else that needs to be done in a relationship too. I mean, there's a lot of intimacy that is lacking in a long distance relationship, but I mean, it's not to say that it's a permanent solution, but I do
Hmm.
believe that long distance is worth it when you have a goal of being together, and that's something we're both aware of being the goal. Like I said to you before, right now the goal for me is to prioritize my family for a time because I've been in the US for so long. And that's just
Hmm.
something I had to do. But yeah, when the time is right, we'll find each other again. And that just makes it also worth it. And that is just this security that I have. Like there's no
Right.
doubt or wonder or a longing that is coming with this anxiety of like, is he mine? I don't ever feel as though I'm losing him or that he's
Lovely.
yeah, disappearing. And yeah, it's brand new and I love it. It's a great feeling. Yeah.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, so pulling the
Yeah,
lever and the consistency of it all, I understand it. I can feel it in my body, and it's true
right.
when it says it's that consistency that make you feel safe.
True. Yeah. And I'm also getting the impression that you prioritized your essential needs
Yeah.
as well. Like you're spending time in your career, in your home country, with your family. Like there's a way that you were loving yourself by tuning into your deeper needs and then
Yeah.
responding to that, right? And then
Yeah.
so many of the clients that I work with, it's I'm helping them perceive the love that is readily available
Mm.
and to be able to take it in an embodied way. And a big part of the love that is readily available is the love that we give ourselves, right? That's the way we talk to ourselves, the way we acknowledge ourselves, the way we listen to our hearts and listen to what makes us happy and listen to what our boundaries are, what gives keeps us alive and vital and clear. Like when we're listening to ourselves and loving ourselves, then we're not going to be like interested in hanging out on an electric field, like an electrically charged ground where we're in pain and obsessing over an inconsistent source of love. It's like, oh, love is here. I'm gonna live my life and hang out and connect with other sources of nourishment that have more security, more consistently. It's more satisfying versus hurting myself
Yeah.
and obsessing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. It's I do wonder though for someone who is listening, maybe finding themselves in a relationship with someone who is quite similar to this late what was it
Right.
ladle
Lever.
lever.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of action step do you do? Because I mean, I remember myself kind of falling back. I couldn't really move on until I did like full, what is it called? Cold turkey, just no contact.
Right.
That was kind of like the only way I was able to go about it. But it took me many years to get to the point where I was able to get like, because the first times I tried to cut contact, it physically hurt so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So how can we like ensure our bodies that we are in fact safe, although we feel like we're dying on the inside?
Yeah, I called my kind of most epic ex situation, or sometimes I've referred to him as Voldemort. Less so because of, I mean, he did have visceral, like aesthetically, some of that vibe, but a big part of that was because of, at the end of the Harry Potter series, his path towards empowerment and liberation was a certain willingness to die. And he like that part of the villain that was like in him, he was willing to kind of go through the death portal in order to liberate himself from that attachment. And that kind of felt like me of like, oh, for the first 3 days it felt like I was saying yes to death. It had that primal fear sort of quality to it. Oh, and that's what kept me in the relationship for so long was this kind of like visceral feeling that I'm going to die if I break up from this relationship, which
Well,
is kind of like bringing up that child programming that where our lives were dependent on another human being in order to survive. But the body gets a little confused when trauma is involved. So for those who are stuck, I think one thing it's important is to recognize like that visceral feeling, that emotional feeling that you're going to die. It's helpful to give yourself permission and give yourself space to feel it versus do all these coping mechanisms to shut it down of like just let the feeling roll.
yeah.
At the end of those 3 days of devastation after breaking up with him, I felt so liberated. I felt literally ecstatic.
Right.
Finally free.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what, and then you're free. You're free too. It
Right.
is so worth it. But oh my goodness, Lorena, I could not help but laugh so much at one point there because not only do I feel like I could totally feel that whole like Harry Potter analogy of it all. Because I mean,
Hmm.
not only I'm also a huge Harry Potter fan, but I mean, it's not only that, he also had to kill off six other Crocs
Right.
in addition to actually quite literally killing himself, which is like, I'm not saying that, like, obviously that's not what we're saying. It's more of a soul death. It's more of like a death where you're letting go of that version of yourself that is attached. It's
Right.
obviously not like, just to clarify that nobody's going to get me saying that I'm promoting some sort of
No,
suicidal
no, no.
mission.
Please,
Not what I'm
let's not do
saying.
that.
Yeah, not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's this feeling of like when you're going through it, like you are grieving. That grief is real and grief is pain and grief is it can feel like you're dying. Like
Hmm.
it is real, but it does pass. Like it will pass, and you will be so much better for it. And it's almost funny that I'm saying it because that's literally what my ex would tell me. He's like, "You'll be so much better for it." Like I was so scared getting out of it, and he knew how scared I was. Like we knew it had to happen.
Hmm.
We knew
Hmm.
we had been dragging it out in the mud for so long, and he knew that
Right.
at the end of the day, he had to let me go. He had to be the one to just be like, I wasn't going to be able to. And at some point, I just cut contact, and that was my day of empowerment, the day I cut contact and
Yeah.
was able to like do it for so long. But it took a long
Hmm.
time, and it is that it was like like I'm going to use the whole Crocs analogy of saying it was like seven
Go for
times
it.
like cook back again, off again. Like it's like
Yeah.
allow yourself to, if you're in a relationship with your own Voldemort, allow yourself to get out of it a step at a time. It might take seven attempts, and you might have to go through that whole.
Might be. I mean, there's little mini deaths we go through
Yes,
when we transform into a new, more empowered human being,
yes,
right? The
and that's
death of the young one that's looking for approval, the death of the caretaker that like got her sense of security by being indispensable, the death of the one who's pushes down the anger in order to be acceptable, right? Like there's all these mini deaths
yeah.
that need to happen in order for us to really transform.
Yeah. No, but it's true, and it's all of those attempts too. It's kind of like this way that you're convincing your mind too that like, because I think like we live in denial a lot when we're in the relationship too, because we genuinely
Right.
don't think it gets better. Some of us do. At least that's how I felt. Like I actually did not think that it was going to get any better than this
Hmm.
because the highs were so high, but the lows were low.
Hmm.
Like that's the cliche, right? So it is that like acceptance part too, like getting step by step, getting to the point of like acknowledging that it's the right thing to do, and also being like able to take the step. And I think some of us kind of need to prepare ourselves a little bit before we, yeah, go full turkey or whatever works for us, right?
Yeah. And you're asked initially about like what does it take to feel safe?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing us back.
Yeah, I think it's important to find other sources of safety. Self-safety, like I'm showing up with compassion for my own heart, friends, therapists, coaches,
Mm.
teachers, community. I got a lot of nourishment from my dance community at the time. It's like when I'm more conscious of the love that is available in the universe and versus just hyper fixating on one human being to
Uh,
be the source of my everything.
yeah.
If I expand the aperture of my awareness and recognize that I've got a friend who's totally available when I'm need some support and I could ask for that support.
Mm.
I've got community members that I could just kind of snuggle with once in a while. I've got spiritual practice is a part of my deal, and I've got a connection to the unseen and ancestors. And so I'm like calling in different threads of love and support into my heart, into my body, into my consciousness, and it's holding me in a different way. So I feel more capable of just enjoying my life and being in my own skin and feeling confident that I'm loved, full stop.
Yeah.
And I don't have to contort myself in order to, yeah, be in this one particular relationship.
Yeah, no, I think it is this part where you know that like no matter what happens, you'll be okay. You get to this point where it's when you start dating again and you know that like you start to feel those feelings of like falling in love and like maybe those like like those like maybe those familiar threats starts to come back because the triggers
Mm,
doesn't disappear. The triggers are still there. It's that now you're learning how to navigate those triggers because you've already overcome it. It's a part of learning to self-regulate and to
right.
keep track of your nervous system. And so it's actually, I think a breakup like that is almost like necessary to go through in order to build the resiliency that it requires to dare to be more authentic. It's as if like when you go through something like that, you become such a version of yourself who just want to honor every part of you because you went through so much and you really want to see yourself get what you always wanted. Like you really want to feel like if you were going to go through all of that pain anyways, then it was going to be worth it. So if you either get into a relationship where that you if the triggers are so hard that you can't even like if they're harmful to you, like if it's incompatible, it's the ability to walk away. But
Right.
if you're able to regulate yourself and meet the other person from a place of grace and actually intentionally wanting to understand each other, yeah, I think yeah, you at the end of the day, like you really want to do that, do yourself that favor just because of the happiness that comes at the end of all of that.
Really show up for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's maybe the most graceful way to experience peace is when you learn that surrendering is something you can survive. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Surrendering. What do you mean by surrendering?
Just allowing yourself to feel it all, allowing yourself to
All
receive it,
right.
allowing yourself to believe that you're worthy of everything that you want. And
Yeah.
it is an ego debt to some extent to acknowledge that you actually have this insecurity, that you might
Yeah.
not be worthy, that it doesn't get better, or that men ain't shit, like whatever version of that it
Yeah,
is.
whatever your particular belief system,
Yeah, like
pattern, yeah, it
what
might
is that?
be.
Because it's so subconscious and we're so like we're so programmed in our conditioning that like we like it requires a very self-aware person to like see the fault and be intentional about taking accountability to experience the kind of love that we actually want and desperately seek, but actually might I struggle with actually believing that we're worthy of it or that it exists. But
Yeah.
it's a limiting belief at the end of the day.
It is a limiting belief, and it helps to get intentionally focus on evidence that belief is wrong.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Oh, I love that you said that. That's so true. Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Ah, oh my
Like,
gosh. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh no, that's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, reprogramming ourselves is a beautiful opportunity and a practice and takes effort. It's kind of like going to the gym. Kind of need to do it on a regular basis. There's an idea of like with neuroplasticity, like rewiring ourselves requires a certain amount of repetition
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
those neural pathways become more and more accessible. It's like in the beginning when we're trying on a new pattern, it's kind of like going through the jungle with a machete. You're just like hacking through old beliefs that are in the way of where you want to go. But eventually it starts becoming more and more accessible. You find like paths that some animal made before, and you like follow through with that, and then you like grow that path, and it starts to become easier and easier to go to that belief of like, I am worthy of love.
Yeah.
I will be loved if I express my displeasure.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know what I realized though, which was also like, I just didn't know this about men. And I asked this
Mm.
question, and because I read this book and I was wondering if it was true. So I asked the men in my life, do you just want me to be happy? Are you just trying to figure out how to make me happy? And I'm just not telling you because I think that you should know. And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that I think that you're a woman that just know intuitively what to do. Of course, men think differently, act differently, and do things differently than we do, have different instinct than we do. And once I realized that, I just started telling them how to make me happy, and they're just doing it, and I'm just getting everything that I want from my dad. That is the biggest miracle. The fact
Amazing.
that my dad and I have such a good relationship
Mm.
today, I'm like that. I've been praying for that for
Congratulations.
years. Thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. I mean,
Mm.
but to me, it's like my biggest accomplishment this, yeah, this far in my life is
Hmm.
mending that relationship because it was important to me because once I understood that it wasn't personal, that it was just his own programming and wounds, he didn't ne he never it was never a matter of him not wanting to have a close relationship with me. He just didn't know how to show it in a way that was effective because I expected it to look a certain way. And when I started noticing in other ways in which my dad is showing me so much love, it's kind of like
Yeah,
it
right?
look for the evidence of things actually being good in your life. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
simplest things as me telling him what him helping me out with something provides for me. And like
Mm.
it just helped, like he just then I don't have to convince anything. He's just doing it. And as long as
Mm.
I'm thankful and showing gratitude, he
Hmm.
just continues to do it. He's asking me how I like, what do you need? You know, like things I've never heard before. He's it's just things changed, and I try to do the same way in the relationship with all the men in my life, and yeah, it's changed drastically. Just gratitude. It's the simplest thing. Showing
Right.
gratitude, it's like giving them points.
Yeah. It's helpful.
No, for real. I mean, I'm shocked at how easy it was. I just had to say thank you
I'm
the
great.
whole time. I just had to tell you exactly how to do it, and then you would give it to me.
Yeah, and I imagine when you first started doing that, that was vulnerable, right?
Let's see. The
Maybe
first
not.
time well, I mean, I'm trying to recall the first, when I first started learning about all of this, the theories around it, I kind of had to grapple with the fact that I felt so bad about how I've been treating men because I have
Mm.
essentially thought that they were thinking the way I'm thinking, feeling the way I'm feeling, acting the way I'm like. Of course, we look differently, and that's so obvious. Like, there's a very distinct difference between a woman and a man and how we look. Like, you can tell more often than not. And so it's natural to also maybe consider that they act and feel and all of that differently too. I just hadn't
Mhm.
considered it, and somehow I felt bad because I realized that like all they want to do is protect, serve, and provide, and all
Mm.
I want to do is feel safe. So we're actually on the same team.
Right.
I don't know why I thought I had to manipulate men into giving me what I want. I never had to do that. They wanted to give me what I want.
Great. Yeah.
And it's
Just
true for
receiving
like
the love
literally
that's
all of
there.
us. Like it is true for all of us. And the more gratitude we show for the things that they're already doing, even if it's taking out the trash, even if it's putting the kid to bed, even if it's changing the diaper, even if they should be doing it, still being super grateful. It gives them so much more. They will show up so much more in other areas. I genuinely believe it because I see it. I'm not just saying it, I'm experiencing it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
positive reinforcement
I
makes a
went
big
on a
difference.
whole rant.
All good. It's great.
Lorena, I'm having so much fun talking to you. I feel like you're teaching me so much and I'm getting different points of views and you're explaining things in a
Mm.
way that just sits really well with me. I
Oh,
right
glad to hear
time, I
that.
feel like I can receive what you're saying and understand it. So thank you so much. And I just see in my notes here that there's some things that you wrote in your email to me and I didn't know what it means. Can you explain to me what Eros is? Am I saying that?
Oh yeah,
Eros.
yeah, Eros.
Eros.
Kind of references the root of the word erotica comes from the
Mm,
Greek gods pantheon, like Eros, the like Cupid is another version of Eros. But
how funny.
when I use the word Eros, I think of life force energy oriented towards pleasure and embodiment. So it's a more expansive term that's inclusive of like the yumminess of walking down the street and just kind of like smelling the flowers and feeling the sun on your face.
Hearing
Yeah,
the
to
birds
like,
sing.
right, right,
Yeah.
to like dancing, to creatively writing and the joy and pleasure that comes from that, to like having orgasms. But like,
All
Eros to
things
me
for it.
is
Yeah.
all of those things, pleasure
Oh,
and embodiment, basically.
yeah. One of the things that I found meaningful, and I deeply encourage everyone to just consider, just like take this information and like, yeah, do whatever you want with it. But when I come back to Norway, what we're known for is breathtaking nature and landscape.
Mm,
We have a lot
hmm.
of beautiful nature, and that's something that I feel incredibly connected to. I need to be in the woods. I need to smell the flowers. I need to hear the birds sing. I need to see the glitter that comes on the surface of the water when the sun is
Oh,
shining. I
yes.
need to
Mwah.
recognize it all. I need to see the pink cotton candy skyline. I need to see the sunsets. I need to see the sunrise. Like all of these things gives so much more than we think. I don't know, give it credit for. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
There's
beautiful.
a concept in trauma theory called resourcing. It's from Peter Levine's work, creator of somatic experiencing. And resourcing is intentionally paying attention to something that's positive, pleasurable, empowering until our nervous systems settle more. So, like a deeper breath, we feel like we're like, feel safer in our bodies, feel more aliveness. So that like I talked about, it's important to kind of like open up our the aperture of our awareness to be able to take in more goodness. I think nature is utterly underappreciated, and we don't spend enough time generally taking in the beauty of nature. And I love that's a part of your daily practice.
Yeah,
If more of us intentionally slowed down to pay attention to what's beautiful and like really basked in that experience and like breathed a little bit more deeply, settled a little bit more into our bodies, relaxed a bit more deeply, then we would be able to respond to life in a far more regulated, resourced, resilient way.
yeah. You know what I just thought about when you said all of this? If
Mm.
there's two things, like if at the end of my life I'm getting a statistics over all the things I ever done, and if there was a list of the top words that I used or the sentences that I said or the things that I said, I hope that my top two is thank you and I love you. I hope those are at the
Mm.
top of the list of the things that I said the most frequent. And I say that
Mm.
because when you're describing what you're describing and just taking it all in, like for me, what that feels like is getting in contact with my creator. I'm religious, so I believe that.
Mm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I acknowledge all of what he created, including me and everyone in
Mm.
my life, everyone that I
Beautiful.
know. It's a reason why he says, love thy neighbor. We're supposed to love it all. Even if it's the
Mm-hmm.
bird, even if it's the fox, now I'm just changing it. But at the same time, like I genuinely mean it. And the amount of times I found myself during a day, like if I hear the bird song, if I like when my sister-in-law today, we were driving to my brother because we were going to babysit, and the fields are so green, and there are just yellow dandelions all across the road. And
Amazing.
oh, the red barns in the landscape and the blue sky. I mean, it's so beautiful. And I just like I go, thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel so
Mm-hmm.
grateful. Like, and it's the best feeling to, I don't know, thank you, Creator, for everything you're blessed with, even if it's a breathtaking view or a stranger's kindness or
Yeah.
being kind to a stranger.
Yeah.
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 Lorena, I'm having
Hmm.
such a good time talking to you.
It's been a pleasure, Maggie.
Is
Yeah.
there anything we haven't talked about yet that you want to talk about?
Um, I think I'm good. We touched on a lot. Do you want to mention that I have a mini course
Yes, please do.
called Nourished, the neuroscience of receiving beautifully, and I'm happy to send you that link, and
Please
maybe
do.
your
I'll
your
attach it.
listeners can check it out. But we've already been speaking much to this, right? Like the importance of opening up the aperture of our awareness to really receive the goodness of life through loved ones, through nature, through spirit. And like when we're more nourished, then we don't have to abandon ourselves
Yeah.
in order to try and get love, like an obsessed pigeon, right?
Oh, this conversation went so many different ways.
Right?
I love it.
But yeah, I love to serve people who are naturally paying attention to other people's, but they tend to not pay enough attention to their own needs and wants. So, empaths who can use some support in honoring their desires and their boundaries more
Yeah.
effectively so they can create more fulfilling relationships. And so much of that has to do with paying attention to where our attention is
Yeah. Yeah.
and paying attention and like intentionally paying attention to the goodness of life.
Yeah.
So there's like less scarcity consciousness around love and beauty and resources and paying attention to what's happening in here.
Yeah.
So when the painful pieces come up, we're like paying attention to what are the needs underneath those painful feelings, right? It's heartbreak. Ugh, I'm not getting enough validation
Yeah.
or compassion or care. And also, oh, this feels good. Let's do more of that. Right?
Absolutely.
So we can feel more Eros and be more creative and generative and
Yeah.
engaged in delightful ways.
Oh, I love arrows. I think it might be my new favorite word.
Nice.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Lorena, thank you so much for your time and for your kindness and generosity. I am so grateful that you're here. And
Hmm,
next time I'm back in San Francisco, which will be soon enough, I would love to catch up with you one day. It would be
that
great
sounds
to meet you
great.
in person. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.